Dear students, hope you are all well. Today we will begin with the second chapter in geography. The name of the chapter is The Sun, the Moon and the Earth. Let's move forward. Now students, before moving forward, let's see. Here you have to tell me which of the following is true facts about the moon. The first one is the moon is a natural satellite of the earth. The moon is an artificial satellite of the earth. The moon has its own light. The moon reflects light from the sun. The moon always stays at the same place. The moon revolves around the earth. The moon rotates around its axis. The moon does not rotate around its axis. So take some time and pick up the correct statements. Let's move forward. Now we are coming back with the true statements. The first one states the moon is a natural satellite of the earth. So it is not an artificial satellite, right? It is a natural satellite. The second one says the moon reflects light from the sun. The third one says the moon revolves around the earth. As you can see in this picture, the moon is moving around the earth. So it is revolving around the earth. And the last statement says the moon rotates around its axis. So as you can see, the earth is rotating around its axis. Similarly, the moon also rotates on its axis. These are a few things which we have already studied in the previous classes about the moon. Now let's learn something new. Okay? So your question is, what is orbit of the moon? Now the definition says, the path which the moon follows while revolving around the earth is called the orbit of the moon. Okay. So how does this orbit looks? Let's see. Now it looks something like this. Now you have to draw this diagram, but you'll draw that later. Now let me explain this diagram first. Okay. Now as you can see, this moves in the blue line. Can you see a blue line? Yes. Now you can notice that this is not a full circle, right? It is not in a circular shape. So it is basically a shape of an egg. Okay, so it is called an elliptical shape. That is, the moon's orbit is of elliptical shape. Now, elliptical means egg shaped. Also, you will notice here that the earth is not in the center of the orbit. You can see the earth is in the center. No, it's not in the center. It's shifted a bit. All right, on this side, that is the left side, the earth is more closer to the moon. Can you see the earth is more closer to the moon? Okay, and on this side, that is the right side, the earth is far from the moon. This side, that is the left side, is called the perigee, or perigee is the position of the moon when the moon is nearest to the earth and it looks slightly bigger. Can you see from the perigee position? It is slightly bigger, which it looks. Okay, and if you measure the distance between the earth and the moon at perigee, it would come out as this. So it will be 3,62,570 kilometers. So this is the distance between the earth and the moon at perigee. Perigee is the closest position, the nearest position to the earth. Okay. Now on the other hand, you have apogee. So apogee is the position of the moon when it is farthest away from the earth and looks slightly smaller, as you can see in the diagram. Now farthest away means it is one on the more far side. And similarly, if you measure this distance between the earth and the moon when it is at apogee, it will be at 4,05,410 kilometers. Next, we will learn about the phases of the moon. So here, let me explain this first. The moon in the circle, in the inside circle. Can you see in the inside circle? Plus the earth, which is in the dotted line. And the sun over here, from where the sunlight is coming, the sun is outside, right? So this is a deception from the space. This is a picture taken from the space, okay? So as you can see, sunlight is falling from this side, that is from the right side. So this side of the moon is day and this side of the moon is night. So the right hand side is the day and the left hand side is the night. Okay, and what do you have on the outside figures? Can you see the outside figures where the moons are little bigger, or how the moon looks from the earth? Okay, so the phases of the moon start with the new moon. Okay, it starts with the new moon, then it slowly grows like this until it becomes the full moon. Now, to see the phases of the moon, you have to go from the right to the left upwards. Okay, so then it starts to become smaller and then it becomes smaller and smaller and it again becomes a new moon. So this cycle goes on, it continuing. As you can see along the way, the moon also has different names, right? Each moon has a name. Now we have new moon, waxing moon, first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, waning gibbous, last quarter, waning crescent, and again the new moon. Let's move forward. Now let's see the next, that is eclipses. And what are the types? Let's first understand what is an eclipse. Now, an eclipse is an astronomical event. Okay, astronomical means related to stars and planets. Now the field of science who studies planets, stars and outer space is called as astronomy. So these words come from an event. And an event means something that is happening. Okay, so an eclipse is an astronomical event. Now when one object in the sky moves in the shadow of another such object, all right, and there are two types of eclipses. They are solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. Let's move forward. Now first we will learn what is a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse happen during a new moon. Now solar eclipses always happen during a new moon. Now in the previous slides we learned about different phases of the moon, right? The new moon, first quarter, full moon, etc. So solar eclipse happen during a new moon when the moon moves between the earth and the sun. As you can see in the diagram, the moon is between the earth and the sun, and these three celestial bodies form a straight line. You can see they are forming a straight line. They are in straight line, that is first earth, moon and then sun. Now tell me here, the earth, the moon and the sun are aligned in this way. So whose shadow will fall on whom? Do you all know? See, earth, moon or sun, whose shadow will fall on whom? Now, as you notice here, the sun is the only source of light, right? So when the light of the sun is coming from the sun and reaching to the earth, who comes in between? The moon is in between a certain region. As you can see, the moon is in between. So because of this moon, shadow will fall on the earth. Can you see the moon's shadow is falling on the earth, the black shadow? A certain region. So because of this, moon shadow will fall on the earth. All right. So this is how solar eclipse occur. Let's move forward. Now let's discuss what are the different types of solar eclipses. The first type is called the total solar eclipse. The second type is called the partial solar eclipse, and the last type is called the annular solar eclipse. Now if you can see in this diagram, in the total solar eclipse, the moon is completely covering the sun. Alright? Now in the partial solar eclipse, has the moon covering only the portion of the sun. So if you can see here, the black portion is the moon and the yellow portion is the sun. So in the partial solar eclipse, the moon covers only some part of the sun and not the complete sun, as you can see in the picture. Okay. Now, and the last part of the solar eclipse is the annular solar eclipse, where the moon covers the center of the sun. Can you see? The moon is covering the center of the sun. You can see the black portion of the moon, but it leaves out the outer ring. The outer ring is the sun. You can see a ring shaped, that is the sun. This type of solar eclipse is called as the annular solar eclipse. Let's move forward. Next, we will learn about the lunar eclipse. Let's first understand what is lunar eclipse. So, lunar eclipse happen during a full moon, when the earth is in between and the moon and the sun. The earth is between the moon and the sun. Okay. So as you can see in this diagram, the earth is in the middle, right? And the moon and the sun are at the sides. And the three celestial bodies form a straight line or almost a straight line. Moon, second is the earth, and then the sun. So over the order is moon, earth, and sun. Earth is in the middle. This is very important. In the previous slide, we studied about solar eclipse. Now in solar eclipse, the moon was in the middle. And in lunar eclipse, the earth is in the middle. Okay? Let's move forward. So let's come to the type of lunar eclipse. So basically, there are two types of lunar eclipse. The first one is total lunar eclipse and the second one is partial lunar eclipse. Okay, let's study about them one by one. Let's move forward. First, the total lunar eclipse. Now, what is a total lunar eclipse? So, as you can see, the moon is getting covered by a shadow. Then it becomes red. Look at the first picture. Then the shadow goes away again. The shadow you are seeing is the shadow of the earth falling on the moon. If you have to write, you can write that a total lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, earth and the moon form a straight line and the earth casts its shadow on the moon. As you can see in the second diagram, the earth is casting shadow on the moon's surface. So as you can see in this diagram, sun, earth and the moon are in a straight line. You can see first sun, then the earth and then the moon. So they are in the straight line. The earth's shadow is falling on the moon. Now you might have a question that shadows are which in color? Black in color. So when the earth's shadow fall on the moon, it should become black, right? The moon should become black. Why does it become red? Right. So let's come to the point 2 to understand. Look at the point 2. Based on the Earth's atmosphere, the moon can look of different colors during total lunar eclipse. Have you all observed a total lunar eclipse? The moon looks reddish in color. This is not the color of the shadow, okay? This is not the color of the shadow, but because of the atmosphere, we are seeing different colors, okay? Let's move forward. Next type of lunar eclipse is the partial lunar eclipse. You must be knowing what is partial. Partial has the word part in it, right? You can see here the shadow is covering only the path of the moon. You can see in the first picture, the shadow is only covering a part of the moon. This type of lunar eclipse is called as partial lunar eclipse. So you can write it down as a partial lunar eclipse occurs when the sun, the earth, second is the earth, and the moon do not align completely. Why? We will see that. So as you can see in the diagram, if I draw a straight line from the sun to the earth, the sun and the earth are in the straight line, right? The moon is not exactly in line. Can you see the moon is not exactly in line? It is little upwards. But it is still coming under the shadow of the earth. Can you see? It's still coming in the shadow of the earth, as you can see in the diagram. So only the portion of the moon is getting under the shadow. That means not the full moon is getting covered. Only the portion of the moon is getting under the shadow, that is coming under the shadow. So therefore, we see a partial lunar eclipse. Partial means half part. Okay, which is also in the second point. In partial lunar eclipse, the earth covers only some part of the moon, not the whole part, only the some part of the moon. Let's move forward. That is your homework, is you have to find the answers of these questions. First is, during a lunar eclipse, the dash comes in between the sun and the dash. Second one is, lunar eclipses only occur during dash. Third is, during annular solar eclipse, the moon is at dash. Next is, what is orbit of the moon? Next is, what is a solar eclipse? And the last one is, you have to draw a diagram. That is, draw a neat label diagram of the orbit of the moon. That's all for now. Your chapter ends over here. We will learn more about this in the next video. Thank you for listening, children. Goodbye. Take care.